News.com on Twitter and Instagram. We're streaming live there right now. As we go on in the next 60 minutes, you're going to be seeing videos of what we're going to be talking about this evening, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. Tonight, Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia touts achievement of Good for Oil program, insisting the policy is responsible for a projected drop in prices at the pumps for the ordinary Ghanaian beginning tomorrow. This is what the Vice President has been talking about over the period, which has been disputed by a number of these stakeholders, also questioning the position that he has taken concerning these demands and also the impact of the Good for Oil program.
That I've been told that next week we are likely to see fuel prices fall again as a result of this policy.
In fact, the second pricing window for the month of March begins tomorrow, the 16th of March, 2023. We will get into this. What is the true account of events? We'll subject the Vice President's analysis of why fuel prices are expected to go down beginning tomorrow. Some experts join us here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also, a court dismisses Aremia Anas's 25 million Ghana cedis defamation suit against a Sin Central Member of Parliament, Kenneth Japan, were in court earlier today. And Kenneth Japan has been speaking to journalists who were in court. We'll bring that to you shortly, and also have some lawyers engage with us on this development, especially the transcripts of the said ruling by the judge on this case and the description of Aremia Anas in that transcript. We'll give it to you later as we go on here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. And the National Union of Ghana students to picket in Parliament tomorrow over the capping of the Get Fund as they demand immediate reversal of the policy. We have business and sports, the Ghana entertainment coming up in the next 60 minutes here on Hot Edition on 3FM and 92.7. Remember, we're live as well on Facebook. It's at 3FM 927. And on Twitter and Instagram at 3FM 927. Let's connect. There's a lot to talk about tonight. Let's get into it now. Now, the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, is saying the Good for Oil policy by the current administration has saved the country millions of dollars of forex exchange, which hitherto would have made its way out of the country. The latest defense by the Vice President follows what he says is the monumental success of the policy, responsible for fuel price decreases in the last few weeks. According to the Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, projected fuel price decreases expected at the pumps tomorrow would be another of the many successes of this Good for Oil policy. He was speaking at a forum by the bulk oil storage and transportation company, that's BOST, here in Accra, where he further took aim at critics of the policy. Let's take a listen to the Vice President earlier today on this Good for Oil deal.
I'm happy to note that the Good for Oil policy is the first policy of its kind in Ghana since independence to address this type of balance of payments crisis that we faced. In my humble opinion, this is the most important macroeconomic policy intervention to deal with the exchange rate depreciation, fuel price, food price, and inflation nexus that we have had. We have not only seen, as a result of the policy, we have not only seen a decline in prices from the 23 cedis per litre to around 12 cedis per litre, we have also seen stability in the exchange rate as we predicted. And I must say, all thanks should go to the Ministry of Energy, to BOST, to MPA, to the Bank of Ghana, Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, and the PMMC, who rose up to the occasion when we faced this crisis of a rapidly depreciating currency along with rapidly increasing fuel, transportation, and food prices. I am happy to note that I've been told that next week we are likely to see fuel prices fall again as a result of this policy. And next week, it's not actually, Professor has just said it's not that far, it's tomorrow. Tomorrow we will see the decline in prices that we expect. I mean, this is remarkable. 2.5 months ago, you are at 23 cedis per liter. Today, you are at 12 cedis and falling. That is a good point. We are currently importing about 50 to 60% of our oil imports under this policy. The goal is to move to 100%, and that will be done this year. We will see this done with, and we'll work with the BDCs to make this happen. Some people said it will not work. Ghana doesn't have enough gold. How can you say that? We've been mining this gold for 200 years. They keep taking it out, and it cannot work for us. It doesn't make sense. There are people who are very disappointed that it is working, but bleeding is allowed.
Well, that's the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, there, talking about the Gold for Oil program, which he touts the successes and makes the point that it is expected to save Ghana some $4.8 billion annually. Now, prior to this program, the bulk oil distributing companies needed about $400 million every month from the Bank of Ghana to be able to import finished products, that's petrol, diesel, and LPG, and other commodities that refined from the crude oil into the country. Even though we also produce crude oil, because the Temare refinery is not currently refining, it's not working, we are not directly benefiting from the crude oil that we're producing in this country. That's what's happening now. The Temare refinery is dormant. For the last time we checked, the last 21 months, almost 22 months gone by, Temare refinery has not refined any crude oil from this country. That has raised fundamental questions about the plan that government has to turn around the fortunes of the refinery that we have as a country. But beyond that, after this Gold for Oil program, the first two tranches of this crude oil, that the finished product that have come through under this Gold for Oil program, according to the market players, it accounts for just about 10 to 15% of the total demand of petrol and diesel that we consume in this country. Now, with the third tranche that's come through from this Gold oil deal, how much exactly does it account for in terms of the total consumption of petrol and diesel on the market? And how does that also either confirm or disprove the Vice President's claim that because of the Gold for Oil deal, the expected reduction in fuel prices tomorrow will be primarily as a result of the Gold for Oil deal? Bear in mind, there are three factors that influences the pricing of petroleum products at the pumps in this country. We're talking about the currency differentiation. We've seen the cedi-dollar relationship, and over the period, there's been that stability. And if you check the Bank of Ghana right now, they are quoting 13 cedis 80 pesos for the dollar. The second factor that influences prices of petroleum products at the pumps is the taxes and levies on the price buildup. There are about 12 prices, that's the taxes and levies on the price buildup. And over the last 2 months, we have seen a stability in that area as well. As at December, that's when just two components in the 12 taxes and levies were increased. That's the boss margin and the UPPF. The third component is the crude oil prices on the world market. Now, the crude oil prices on the world market has been actually reducing over the period. In fact, we're just checking on the Bloomberg website right now, and crude oil is selling at $72 per barrel, as against 2 months ago when crude oil was selling at $84 per barrel. So the price of crude oil on the world markets has actually been reducing as well. And so these are the three factors that influences the price of petroleum products at the pumps. So what is the situation on the ground? Can the expected reduction in petrol prices at the pumps tomorrow be only as a result of the Gold for Oil program. Abbas Tasunte is head of pricing and economics at the National Petroleum Authority, NPA. I spoke to Abbas about, first of all, how many volumes of petrol and diesel have come through under this Gold for Oil program, that we are using gold to buy finished products through these middlemen and that chain that many have raised questions about transparency of the entire deal. Take a listen to Abbas Tasunte.
So we can go again. I think you start.
Yes, it is.
Then under the program, 3 of these cargoes are diesel and 2 are petrol. In January, we received 1 diesel cargo, which was about 41,000 metric tons. In the month of February, we received another diesel cargo, which was also about 42,000 metric tons. And in this month, we received another diesel cargo, which is about 42,000 metric tons as well. So since January, we've received 1 diesel cargo per month. For petrol, we've received 2 cargos so far, and received 1 in February, and which was about 30,000 metric tons, and we received another in March, which was about 37,000 metric tons. So, but we have another cargo that has arrived, which is a petrol cargo, but it is here to berth and discharge. So it is at Anchorage as we speak. So these are the cargoes we received under the program so far. So 5 cargoes have completed discharge, and 1 cargo is at Anchorage awaiting discharge.
We can go.
Diesel and 2 are petrol. In January, we received 1 diesel cargo, which was about 41,000 metric tons. In the month of February, we received another diesel cargo, which was also about 42,000 metric tons. And in this month, we received another diesel cargo, which is about 42,000 metric tons as well. So since January, we've received 1 diesel cargo per month. For petrol, we've received 2 cargos so far, and received 1 in February, and which was about 30,000 metric tons, and we received another in March, which was about 37,000 metric tons. So, but we have another cargo that has arrived, which is a petrol cargo, but it is here to berth and discharge. So it is at Anchorage as we speak. So these are the cargoes we received under the program so far. So 5 cargoes have completed discharge. And
so that's Abbas Tasunte, who is head of pricing and economics at the National Petroleum Authority, and they are key in this entire Gold for Oil program, giving the details of how much in terms of the finished product that we have received as a country, or we have bought with our gold under this Gold for Oil program. In January, we had 41,000 metric tons of diesel coming through under this Gold for Oil program. In February, 42,000 metric tons came in. And then in March, this month as well, the first week of this month of March, we had 42,000 metric tons of diesel also coming through. Now, for petrol, we've had 30,000 metric tons of petrol coming in February. And in this month of March, 37,000 metric tons coming in as well. What we're learning is that there is another cargo of petrol that is yet to be discharged under this Gold for Oil program. So with all this put together, is it enough to have a significant impact on the market to actually be the reason why we're going to experience the reduction in the prices of petroleum products at the pumps beginning tomorrow? The critical question here as well is, from the NPA's own perspective, will the Gold for Oil deal be the only reason why prices and petroleum products are going to go down or expected to go down beginning tomorrow? Let's stay with Abbas Tasunte on this as well and find out what the NPA's own perspective is on this issue.
Petroleum Authority, or are in good standing with the National Petroleum Authority, and are also in good standing with the Ghana Revenue Authority in terms of payments of all taxes and levies to the state. So once these OMCs are cleared like that, we make them sign the undertaking, and then they comply with the terms and conditions for supply of products under the program. So we can monitor them, as I mentioned, and make sure that they are complying and applying the prices from the Gold for Oil, determining their pump prices. So as we speak, there's no specific criteria. All OMCs, as long as they are good standing with the NPA and the GRA, are free to supply products under the Gold for Oil program.
But so how many OMCs have signed on to this program?
So this new criteria, which I mentioned, just took off this week. But before then, we had about 32 oil marketing companies that qualified to supply. But now, since I think we communicated the new criteria 2 days ago, so BDCs are still communicating their OMCs who they are willing to supply to, and we are clearing them and adding to it. So as we speak, about 32 OMCs are cleared to participate.
I see. So, but is there any mechanism policing the system to ensure consumers are actually benefiting from what you put in place?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, they've signed an undertaking, and this undertaking requires that if you lift, you are able to prove that you have used the gold for oil price and also the gold for oil price in determining your pump price. What we are doing is that these volumes are being monitored, as in which OMCs are lifting what volumes. So what we are doing here at the National Petroleum Authority is to get the information on the volumes that these OMCs are lifting. And the price for the G4O is also, we know what the price is. So what we do is to find out the price of the products that they didn't lift under G4O, and then the price of the product they lifted under the G4O. And we have a very good idea of the volumes or the average sales of every oil marketing company. So we are able to tell the proportion of G4O in their supplies for every window, and therefore are able to tell how the weighted average should be done for each of these oil marketing companies.
Okay, so that's Abbas Tasunte, who is head of pricing and economics at the National Petroleum Authority. And what we're also learning from the Institute of Energy Security's projection is that fuel prices are expected to fall between 3 and 10% at the pumps beginning tomorrow, March 16, 2023. According to Institute for Energy Security, IES, they've projected that it would go down from the current 12 cedis, the current 13 cedis, 40 pesos, to 12 cedis, 60 pesos per liter for petrol. That's from 13 cedis, 40 pesos, to 12 cedis, 60 pesos. The vice president is attributing this solely to the Gold for Oil program impact on the market. Dr. Yusuf Sulemana is a petroleum economist and also energy expert joining us on the telephone. Dr. Yusuf Sulemana, thank you so much for your time on Ghana, that's on Hot Edition. First off, you've studied this market. You see how things play out. This reduction we have seen over the period and what is expected in the second pricing window of the month of March, which begins tomorrow, would it be solely as a result of the Gold for Oil program?
Yeah, thank you very much, Alfred, and good afternoon to you and your territory, and thank you for having me once again. Typically, you say that, of course, if you look at the market, we've always been mentioning that three dynamics will always impact what the consumer pays at the pump. The exchange rate is one. What the prevailing prices of the oil in the international market will be, and of course the taxes and levies. Of course, taxes and levies will keep it out to say. And if you look at gold to oil was coming just to be able to stabilize the currency. And for me, from where I sit, looking at the quantum that has arrived, it's not enough to make any significant impact on whatever, whatever the consumer pays at the pump. Largely what we have now is just the international dynamics that is going to our favor. I mean, the international crude oil price hasn't been going up, it's been stable over the years. And of course, our exchange rate also has been doing a bit better. There hasn't been that much of depreciation. So yes, you can't solely attribute that. Maybe gold to oil is yet to come. If we can have maybe 100%, 50% as they suggested, or as the plan by the end of March, or by March, we should have 50% of the market being supplied by gold to oil. Supply dynamics-wise, in terms of what the impact on the currency will be, yes, it could have some impact. But at the moment, I will not be able to stick my neck out to say that, what is happening is typically due to gold to oil. Until we have 50% comfortable being supplied by gold to oil, and then the other 50% probably being supplied from the external sources, which in case we have reduced the burden on the local currency, then we could be in a position to comfortably attribute, the slight drop to gold to oil. But now it's typically due to international dynamics. And we might see it going further down if what is happening within the global front sustains. So it could be something good for us in two ways. let's say if you have too much coming from gold for oil, and then the international dynamics also go into our favor. If you remember, Alfred, just recently we have a huge, movement within the international fund with respect to this Silicon Valley Bank. It's a huge bank that has just collapsed. Another one followed, and so this is a huge thing that has happened to the global market, and they have taken about a minimum of $5 from what the crude oil sells within the international space, and that is huge. For the last 6 months, oil has been stable around 80. As we speak now, it is within the 70s. So let's say if it's sustained, it's not a good thing. We don't like what is happening because that cascading impact is dire on global economies. But if it sustains and we have this drop maintained within the 70s for a period of time and it's able to hit the next window, we could even have further drop. But for gold to oil, yes. But unless we have up to 50% of the market being supplied by gold to oil, I cannot stick my neck out to say that what's happening now is due to gold to oil, the gold for oil program.
I see. And then there are questions about transparency as well in this entire program, as in who are the gold brokers in this chain of the gold for oil deal. And then, for instance, the elements of how convoluted this whole arrangement is. Has the NPA and indeed the Vice President and boss giving any further clarity and transparency to satisfy the concerns of the likes of you, the experts who have raised very cogent concerns about this gold for oil arrangement?
Yeah, so good question, Alfred. I would say that, a lot of us are not satisfied, especially with the aspect of the gold side. If you notice, this policy, the driver or, the success will depend on the real availability of gold at competitive rates. After now, we have a lot of communication that is done, and the communication is centered on the petroleum side. And I must say the petroleum side is fantastic. They did very well because we requested quite a lot of information from the petroleum side. It wasn't forthcoming. Though we had a lot of communication coming within the last few weeks or months, if I may put it that way, NPA boss has been very forceful with so much information. But this information with the petroleum side, it has to be coupled with the same manner of enthusiasm or zealousness with respect to the gold side. The gold side, everything has been quiet, Alfred. If you ask, what you are told is that we have the gold. Let's have assurances. It is very important. And it is in the best interest of the policy and the nation as a whole for us to have this transparency. If we can know that this is the amount of gold that is coming and where it is coming from, and then we know that sustainability-wise it can be sustained. I mean, people will not ask so many questions. At the end of the day, everybody wants the fuel price to be down. But we cannot champion a policy whose benefit, whose potential negatives could be disproportionate, to the benefit. And that's what we are seeing. I mean, that's what we are seeing. If assuming, even the petroleum side, things are not very clear entirely, but at least some communication has come out within the petroleum side. We do have issues with the petroleum side because we are very much concerned about the way the players, government of Ghana is taking control of the market again. If they become efficient and they run it well and good, Alfred. But the major concern for me as a person has been the gold side. Because if at any point in time there is a shortage or there is any glitch in the supply source with respect to the gold side, it means that the product is not going to come or it's going to be difficult. So yes, assurances, we still need assurances, especially from the area of the gold side, number one, and then the petroleum side, BOSS and NPA, they have to be phenomenally efficient. For instance, especially for BOSS, Alfred, we know the history. BOSS has been in the market and it's not good. It's not a good story. I mean, they ran losses some time ago. So yes, I always pin it for two things. BOSS has to be phenomenally efficient. NPA hasn't been doing bad for the past couple of years. They've discharged their duties well. But if you look at the policy, should there be any, and you mentioned the convoluted strain, and that's a fact. It's so much convoluted, and so should there be any glitch or any fault within the chain? The cascading impact within the entire chain is going to be dire. So yes, more information is required, especially for the gold side. Where the gold is going to come from, how we're going to be able to source the gold, how much we need, and are we getting value for money? This petty questions, I think it should be easy to get the answers to. And like I said, if you get answers to that, it does the policy a whole lot of good. But the silence at that front, especially where we're going to get the gold from, because we know our shares within the gold, within our gold field is not that much. We are going to depend on small-scale miners, about 100%, and we need to depend about 20% of even the multinationals. So it means that we need a huge quantity, and we're going to buy this gold. It's not that we have it down. So we have championed a policy where we've been buying this gold some time ago, which is an excellent policy. But I don't think we have accumulated gold enough to be able to champion this kind of policy where we need about 200,000 ounces of gold to be able to meet our demand on monthly basis. That is huge. So yes, assurances is still required, efficiency is still required from the side of the petroleum portion of the policy, and clarity, a little bit more clarity is required for the entire portion of the gold section of the deal. If that is provided, I think a lot of Ghanaians will be much comfortable. Other than that, anything short of this, speculation will still continue to go. And then if we don't provide answers, yes, people will speculate. And there will be substance in the speculation. If the alternative, we don't have any alternative answer to nullify those speculations. Yeah.
Dr. Yusuf Solomon, I appreciate your time as always. Thank you so much for this. And that's Dr. Yusuf Solomon, energy consultant, and also sharing his thoughts on this Gold for Your program and the Vice President's claims that it could, and it is, according to him, the major reason why fuel prices are expected to go down beginning tomorrow. The energy experts disagree with the Vice President's position on this matter. But another issue that we've been following quite closely, as has been playing out today, the Accra High Court has dismissed the 25 million cedis defamation suit against Asin Central Member of Parliament Kennedy Ohinie-Agyapong, brought by investigative journalist Anas Aremia Anas. Now, the judge, Justice Eric Barr, held that Anas Aremia Anas failed to prove that Kennedy Agyapong defamed him by airing the documentary Who Watches the Watchman, but rather the documentary exposed shady deals that Anas and his associates were involved in. Now, this was after Anas in 2018 sued the NPP MP for allegedly defaming him. Anas prayed the court to award some 25 million cedis in damages against Kennedy Agyapong to compensate him for the defamatory material published against him by the NP. Now, what's happened today is that the court has concluded that what Anas is engaged in is not investigative journalism, but rather investigative terrorism. And that Kennedy Agyapong was justified to call Anas a blackmailer, corrupt, an extortionist, and evil. Now, these words, as reported, is what's got a number of people who are watching this space quite closely reacting in very interesting ways. And joining me in studio is a student of law and my colleague here with the news planning desk at Media General, Dennis Poaberi Wedam. Dennis, good to have you. Now, you've been looking at this case quite closely. Just a bit more detail on how it all started and why these words, as captured in the transcripts of the ruling by the judge, is really interesting.
Yes, so this is a case that's traveled all the way from 2018, and today finality has been brought to the case, at least per what we are hearing from the courts today. Now, essentially, the plaintiff, who is Anas, renowned investigative journalist we know, was not happy that MP for Asim Central then made comments. I mean, he is an MP, but then he made a comment in 2018 to the effect that Anas was engaged in corruption, he was engaged in extortion, and some other words he used on him in various media platforms. Anas took the case to court to say that he is a man of repute, and for the fact that the MP has published those words against him, they are injurious to his reputation. And for that reason, he wanted the court to award him damages up to the tune of 25 million cedis. Well, we understand today that after all evidence has been brought before the court took the view that what the MP said is not exactly out of place, because there were some videos that they previewed in court where translation was needed. It was done appropriately, and they came to the conclusion that what the MP said about the investigative journalist was not exactly defamatory as he alleged. At one point, you'd find that the judge says that Anas as he claimed that he was defamed. In fact, if you look at the words that were used in their natural sense, the court concedes that yes, they look defamatory, but then they are not looking at whether or not these things were true.
I see.
And I think they came to the conclusion that the words as they were said by the MP were true, and truth is absolute defense to defamation. So that's how come we have the kind of ruling that we're having today.
Interesting. So this,
So
you look at
that you read about what the judge has said, when you read there's a preamble.
and help us with that.
The preamble says that from the above. So the above referring to the video that they had seen, and that video was tendered in by Canada Japan. And in that video, we understand was some the plaintiff, who is Anas, had met with some CID official to discuss a case. But along the line, it wasn't about the case anymore. They were discussing how they were supposed to share some monies and to implicate another person. That was the video that the judge made reference to. That from what from this video, it's clear that this particular person is not engaged in investigative journalism, but the person is rather engaged in investigative terrorism.
And this video was adduced as evidence in court.
It was adduced as evidence in court. It's interesting how it also played out, because at a point, the team for the plaintiff was also contesting that a translation that had to be done was not properly done. But the court reminded the plaintiff that it is the same thing he also did, because when they brought their case, there were portions of their evidence that needed to be transcribed, because some of the videos were in Twi. The MP spoke in Twi, so they had to do translation. So the court was of the opinion that once you were allowed to translate yours, why should you now have a problem if defense also decides to translate? And in fact, the translation was done by somebody from the Ghana Institute of Languages. The court had to appoint somebody to do a translation. So that was another bit of it all. So it was all those things put together that they reached the conclusion that from all that has happened and all that they've seen, it cannot be defamation as the plaintiff has alleged that has taken place. But Alfred, just before I got in here, there's a statement from the Tiger IPI in response to this particular ruling.
What are they saying?
And if you permit me, I'll quickly read it. So, statement on judgment of Justice Eric Ban in the case of Anas Arimiao Anas versus Canada Japan, suit number GJ892/18. And I read, today, Wednesday, 15th March 2023, the High Court presided over by Justice Ban J dismissed a defamation action filed by Anas Armia Anas of Tiger IPI in 2018 against Canada Japan MP. The entire judgment was read in open court. The court established that Mr. Japan indeed defamed Anas, but in a bizarre twist, concluded that the so-called documentary Who Watches the Watchman was an absolute justification, thereby absolving Mr. Japan of any liability. It goes on to say that we find the decision of the court as unfortunate travesty of justice and very inimical to the administration of justice and fairness. If for nothing at all, Mr. Japan made an allegation of murder against Mr. Anas. There is absolutely nothing contained in the said documentary which alludes to the commission of murder or an allegation of the commission of murder by Mr. Anas. Thus, that documentary cannot provide any justification for an allegation of murder in the wildest imagination. Yet, the judge conveniently ignored this obvious fact and the fact that Mr. Anas is a suspect for murder and is not under investigation for murder. It continues to say, this case traveled through the hands of 3 judges, with Justice Ban being the latest assigned to the case at the express instance of Canada Japan.
I see. It was at the express instance of Canada Japan.
That is what they see. I take that line again. The case traveled through the hands of 3 judges, with Justice Ban being the latest assigned to the case at the express instance of Canada Japan.
But can Canada Japan
throughout the trial, Mr. Japan displayed absolute disdain and disrespect of the court and the lawyers of Anas, but all attempts to cite him for contempt hit the dead end. We note that Mr. Japan attended court in the company of Mr. Kusin Yentechi, who has been banned for 15 years from all football-related activities. Tiger Eye, PI, and our CEO, Anas Armia Anas, remain resolute in our fight against corruption in the Ghanaian society in service to God and country. And
I see. So this is a statement from Tiger IPI and us as company on this. So, but let's understand this. This transcript of the ruling, does it contain what has been widely published, that Justice Barr did indeed state, and I quote, that Anas is not engaged in investigative journalism, but rather investigative terrorism, and that Kennedy Japan was justified to call Anas a blackmailer, corrupt, and an extortionate and evil?
Well, so from the transcript you have from the court, we have all those expressly stated in there. Suffice it to say, this is not the judgment yet, but if the judgment comes, it's more likely that you'll find all these things there. Mind you, even the Tiger IPI team itself has acknowledged or admitted that the whole judgment was read in open court. So the transcript we got is somebody transcribing it while the reading was ongoing. So yes, it's fair to say that these were actually things that were attributed to the conduct of the plaintiff, for which reason their suit for defamation failed.
Pretty interesting times and days ahead of us, as we'll see. But take a listen to Kennedy Japan in court earlier today.
The victory is for the victims of Anas, the people, the good people of this country that Anas has destroyed. All those people who were sacked from their jobs, the people who have died through Anas' illegal investigation should be compensated. Compensation is not enough. He has to apologize to his victims. And today, I say to Ghanaians that we have to be bold to speak the truth in this country. A criminal like Anas, who goes out there to defame people to enrich himself. It is only this country that a journalist will cover his face to go and give witness. When a whole Supreme Court judges are sitting there, and 3 young men have covered their face, testifying against their own colleague judges. One Supreme Court judge from my constituency, before he died, confided in me that his guilt, anytime he sees the judges, he asks himself, how could he have made that mistake? That 3 people covered their face and he didn't even know who was Anas, and still convicted his colleagues' judges. What they have gone through, Anas's humiliation in this country, nobody, no citizen of this country should go through like that. I tell you today, the 50,000, I don't need it. I give it to him, but he should live with his conscience. And with this judgment, God is also going to give his judgment.
So that's Kennedy Japan outside of the courts after the ruling today. You heard him talk about 50,000 that he says he doesn't need. And this is what? The damages awarded against Anas?
Yes, I suppose so.
So in this ruling, Anas is actually supposed to pay Kennedy Japan 50,000 cedis.
It's part of the things that are contained in the transcript from the courts. And yes, so he says he doesn't need it. Yes.
Wow. So, but does this development possibly open the door for an avalanche of cases against Anas? That is, if this provides enough basis.
I mean, this can be reasonably expected, considering how much work Anas has done and how many toes he stepped on with his work. Many people are aggrieved by the kind of work that he does, and it's not just Kennedy Japan who is against his style. So if now people get to know that he has failed on this particular front, they may also want to take their chances at that. But as indicated in their statement, it doesn't look like the Tiger IPI team is going to let this rest at this particular moment. They still have the options of an appeal and even an appeal upon that as well. So let's just see how it goes. But in the interim, I think it actually opens the doors for people who would want to take Anas on to actually do so. As far as I remember, when it comes to matters like this, I think it's not a regular thing that Anas goes to court and he doesn't win a case.
I see. We'll see how things play out. In fact, for the benefit of our viewers on Facebook, if you go on our Facebook page at 3FM927 right now, you'll see the statement of Tiger IPI. We're going to put it on our Facebook page right now in a bit. Now, the scrolling on our Facebook page at 3FM927, the statement from Tiger IPI, which has just come through, in fact, about this development in court earlier today. the Tiger IPI, Anas's company, have also issued a statement on their position on the Accra High Court dismissing a suit by him, Anas Harimia Anas, against Kene Japong, Member of Parliament for Asin Central in the Central Region. Remember, he is also seeking to contest the flag bearership of the NPP. Anas brought a 25 million cedis defamatory suit against Kene Japong, but the court, in a ruling today, said the suit lacks merit. So it has actually awarded damages, a cost against Anas, 50,000 cedis, which Kene Japong says he doesn't need. But Anas, if you recall, in 2018, dragged the lawmaker to court for allegedly defaming him. In his application, Anas prayed to the court to award aggravated damages of $25 million. That's 25 million cedis, I beg your pardon, to compensate him for the alleged defamatory material published against him by the MP. Now, when you go on our Facebook page right now, you would see the Tiger IPI statement, which has just come through from them on this particular development in court earlier today. That's at 3FM 927. The statement is right there. You'll see the details of it and why they're questioning the ruling by Justice Barr. Now, stay with us. If you go on 3news.com, you'll find more on this particular case. Very interesting developments coming up on this case and the days ahead. It's something we're going to stay the steam on subsequently, but with an estimated 700,000 patients living with glaucoma and other 60,000 already blind from the condition in the country, Ghana remains second highest with the prevalence of glaucoma causes. In terms of this global case, the disease, which is the leading cause of preventable, irreversible blindness in the world, can be treated with early detection. Dr. Jifa Bella Ofori Ejay is president of the Ophthalmologists Association of Ghana, and she's been talking about why there's a need to pay a lot more attention to glaucoma.
If you're older than 40 years, we will advocate for you to have one eye screen every year. And this eye screen is not just changing your glasses. This eye screening is checking for glaucoma. So the main problem we have is the late presentation of the disease amongst our patients. And it's mainly due to the fact that the disease does not have any symptoms. So we want to create awareness on early detection. And you can only be detected once you get screened for glaucoma.
We'll bring you some more on this, and then also what the Roads Minister, Kwekwa Makwata, is talking about, daring members of parliament on the NDC side to fact-check the president's claims on the number of roads constructed during his administration so far. Stay with us. You'll hear from the Roads Minister as we go on Health Edition on 3FM 92.7. Della Michelle is here with the latest in the world of business. Della, good evening to you.
Good evening, Alfred.
There's the latest on government treasury bills this week?
Yes, there is.
What's happening there?
Of course, I know most of our people will be interested. So after weeks of treasury bills oversubscription, government is planning to raise almost 2.8 billion cedis when it comes to that this particular week. And now, others on the treasury market, proceeds of the T-bills auction will be used to finance maturing principal amounts worth over 2.5 billion cedis. The funds are expected to be raised through the 91-day and the 182-day bills. Interest rates on treasury bills have in the recent weeks seen a decline following government's rejection of bids at the stagnant 35% levels as it sought to correct the yield anomalies on the money bank. Investors have since agreed to relatively lower rates, and it is anticipated that the trend will continue this week. So that's it when it comes to government and the issues with regard to the treasury bills for this week. But away from that, a tax expert, Francis Timor-Boy, has reiterated that for government to deal with the issues of corruption and accountability at the toll booths, that processes must be digitized. According to him, this must be done before the reintroduction commences to save government from losing money whilst fulfilling its mandates of securing good road networks.
In the past, everything was manual. People were stationed by the roadside and collecting the toll, causing so much traffic. Look, other countries have done it, and it is not a difficult thing to do. We should digitalize the whole process. So you either go online, you recharge your account, the money goes straight away to Bank of Ghana, and it is electronic, you remove the human corruption bit from the whole process. So I go and recharge my card, I fix it on my windscreen, I can buy for a year, I can buy for 2 years, or whichever period I want. Immediately I pass under the bridge, the rate is deducted. If I see that it is going low, I go back and recharge electronically. You see it, if people who cannot buy the electronic version, you create some lane for them to go and pay cash at a higher cost by discouraging the cash transaction. At the end of the day, the electronic mode, people cannot cheat that system.
And you heard tax experts there, Francis Timor, with regard to the reintroduction of the toll booth system. But Ministry of Finance have actually brought out a statement saying that government is in consultation with other relevant stakeholders and their inputs will be considered before the final implementation on modalities on the road tolls. Let's move away from that because Ghana has joined the rest of the world to mark the World Consumer Rights Day. The National President of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, CIMG, Dr. Ocansey T, has asked consumers to exercise their rights whenever making a purchase in the absence of the Ghana Consumer Protection Law, one that has seen to be long overdue. He was speaking on the sidelines after a breakfast meeting in Accra. Dr. Ocansey T added that producers of products must have the responsibility to safeguard their consumers.
The system we run in Ghana, nobody controls prices. The onus is on the consumer to shop around to find where you can get the best products at the right price. That gives you convenience by way of distribution. All right. Any product you are patronizing, if it is a physical product, you have the right to see the chemical composition, the ingredients that are written on the labels to understand in plain language what it is that you are patronizing. The onus is on the provider to ensure that you have a right to safety. Is that okay? If for any reason the product has any downsides or side effects, it is your right to know and to agree that you want to go ahead and patronize. So that even in the absence of the law, in the absence of the act, we are still able to demand what is rightfully ours.
You heard the voice of the National President of the Chartered Institute of Marketing, Dr. Ocansey T. Consumers of petroleum products should expect a further drop in the prices of petrol, diesel, and LPG. Prices are set to fall between 3 and 10% at the pumps, following a decline in activities of price indicators in the last 2 weeks. This according to the Institute of Energy Securities, IES. Prices are projected to fall between 12 cedis, 60 pesos per litre for petrol, and 13 cedis, 40 pesos for diesel, and LPG going for 14 cedis per kilogram. The projected reduction in price of petroleum products, according to IES, is as a result of two major price indicators: falling international prices of oil and the local currency improvement against the US dollar. That's how I wrap up the business news on Hot Edition this evening with me, Della Michelle. Log on to 3news.com for more business news. Hot Edition continues with sports, so go ahead and stay tuned to the show. But Alfred Ocansey is also standing by. Alfred, so you have been advocating for more reduction at the pumps. It looks like the two main indicators that we've been talking about have actually started to give consumers some form of relief.
Yeah, so far and so good, isn't it? And well, the Vice President is also laying claim to the fact that it could solely be because of the Gold for Oil program. We've been talking to experts who have disputed that claim by the Vice President. So it is not only as a result of the Gold for Oil program. We've seen the cedi also stabilize against the dollar. We've seen the crude oil price on the world market also going down over the period. We've also seen at least some stability and the price build up, and that's in the petrol and diesel. So yeah, so well, the MPA has been giving details. We'll get into a lot more as we go on here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. But with an estimated 7, we understand, according to the Minister for Roads and Highways, he's dared Parliament to set up a committee to investigate assertions by President Akufo-Addo that his government has constructed more roads than any other in the country's history. The sector minister Kwesi Amarkwata was contributing to the State of the Nation debate ongoing in Parliament. This is what he said earlier today.
Mr. Speaker, this statement made by His Excellency the President was factual, the statement was credible, the statement was dependable, the statement was incontestable, the statement was undisputed, the statement was introvertible, and above all, Mr. Speaker, the statement is verifiable by anybody who cares. Mr. Speaker, that statement on the road sector made by His Excellency the President is backed by empirical data which is available at Ministry of Roads and Highways. And Mr. Speaker, I challenge any member of this House, I challenge any member of this country, and Mr. Speaker, I can go further to request that if anybody is in doubt, this House can set up an independent bipartisan committee to investigate at my ministry the facts of the data, and that the President, under his leadership, has done more work.
Well, so that's Sector Minister for Roads and Highways, Kwesi Amarkwata there. Takes us into the world of sports. Oreko Ampofo is standing by. Oreko, what's happening there? Look, yesterday, I've seen Haaland is trending. He's been trending for the past, almost 24 hours. I mean,
he's incredible, isn't he?
He is. He's always at the right place at the right time. I don't think he's doing, people say he scores a tuna goal. I mean, people do all the work, and he just taps it in. But a goal is a goal.
A goal indeed is a goal. But, Alfred, do you believe in miracles?
I do. I do.
What's
the latest miracle?
Yeah, there's a party, a club that's hoping for a miracle today. That's Liverpool. They've done some before against Barcelona, where they lost 3-0 away, and they had the privilege of playing at Anfield and overturned that, winning by 4-0. This time around, they still have to do another against another Spanish opposition, but it's against Real Madrid. The kingpins of Europe.
Karim Benzema is playing?
Yeah, Benzema is fit and he's back in the squad.
And the Brazilian, what's his
Vinicius Junior? Yeah, he's also in the squad.
Wow. That's so much.
Yeah, so it's a miracle that the Reds would be hoping for. They've seen numerous miracles, especially when it comes to Liverpool in the Champions League, from the Spirit of Istanbul some 18 years ago, and just a few years ago at Anfield against FC Barcelona. Well, Liverpool boss Jurgen Klopp insists that he would cling to the tiniest chance of his side Liverpool reaching the Champions League quarterfinals, despite conceding that his team are a complete outsider as they bid to overturn a 5-2 deficit against reigning champions Real Madrid.
In this room, I think 100% of the people think that we have no chance. And if I'm the only one who think we have a little, I'm fine. So we are the complete outsider for tomorrow, 100%. It's Real Madrid. They are 3-0 up. That's actually nothing you want for Christmas or whatever. You don't want this, but it's the situation now, and it's football, and we try to give it a go. Let me say, if we can surprise ourselves in a negative way, we should be able to surprise ourselves in a positive way as well. It's clear we are not here and telling now Madrid, be careful, we are coming. That's not the situation we are in. But we are here to try to win the game. And to win it, we have to play extremely good, because there's no other chance. If you play a normal game or a little bit, or an okay game or a good game, will not be enough.
Well, Liverpool have it all to do at 8 p.m. when they face 14-time winners of the UEFA Champions League at the Bernabeu in Spain. That's Real Madrid at 8 p.m. tonight. In the other Champions League game, Napoli also hold a 2-goal advantage over Eintracht Frankfurt when they play them at home in Italy. And it should be an intriguing night of Champions League football, just as we're treated to yesterday too.
That's like a repeat of last year's final, Champions League final.
Yeah, Liverpool edged it then too. Wow. Real Madrid edged Liverpool again. That was a 1-0.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's a game to watch. Anyway, Oreko, thank you so much. And there's going to be more updates on 3 Sports across all social media platforms. But the rift between the Member of Parliament for Aswanse constituency, Mohamed Muntaka Mubarak, and some party officials in Aswanse appears to be deepening, with the lawmaker dragging 11 branch executives to court for defamation. Now, the former minority chief whip is accusing 11 executives of his constituency of publishing and circulating comments deemed to be libelous against his person. Honorable Muntaka is demanding 10 million cedis in damages against the defendants. He's also seeking a retraction and apology from the defendants and the media houses that published the said defamatory material. So we'll see how this plays out. And Akofa is here with the latest in entertainment. Akofa, what's going on?
Hi, coming up on entertainment tonight, we've got King Ayisoba speaking earlier on Sunrise Morning Show with Johnny Hughes, where he shared some thoughts on whether if he believes that he will be bringing home the Grammy, and then also a conversation where he shared his thoughts on whether the whole royalty conversation. He didn't really, he got paid a certain amount. He wasn't too happy about. So let's just quickly settle for the details. Now, musician King Ayisoba, in an interview with Johnny Hughes on the Sunrise Morning Show, says Rocky Dawuni should focus on winning some awards from home and then, tour more, and hopefully he might win the Grammys. Now, he said this while responding to Johnny about if he King Ayisoba, can win a Grammy. Now, here's King Ayisoba speaking with Johnny.
Would you want to win the Grammys for Ghana? Rocky Dawuni has tried 2 times. He didn't get it.
I think that Allah got it. Because the way I see Lucky Gawin try. You see that Lucky Gawin said that based in Ghana. And in songs it's not really popular in Ghana. Only one song in Ghana.
Yes, right.
So sometimes before you win the Grammy, they will ask about this man in hometown.
The local, okay.
The local is a champion, is what? And I'm already win award plenty. You see, Lucky Gawin when they don't win Artist of the Year in Ghana. So if you don't win Artist of your country and you don't tour plenty, you don't go to place, Grammy you cannot get. If you get, let you get lucky. So that bring Lucky Gawin when they cannot win in Ghana. He try, but he should come Ghana.
He should come home.
To work hard.
But can we trust you to bring it home for us?
Please, let's see.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Well, he has, staying a bit longer on stories relating to King Ayisoba. So the I Want to See You, My Father crooner, speaking further on Sunrise Morning Show, expressed his discontent, on the idea of being paid 500 Ghana cedis for a whole year as royalties. Here's an excerpt of that conversation.
Would you say that in terms of royalties here in Ghana, I mean, elsewhere you get royalties. You're on the music charts, royalties, good. Here in Ghana, what would you say about royalties for your music?
I think that here in Ghana, I don't want to talk because...
Why don't you want to talk?
Because I'm already playing Wicked Leaders. I have a song called Wicked Leader. Sometimes...
3FM Sunrise.
We don't get on what me be like 5 years, I don't go there. I don't call them because me like this, I'm more than somebody who give me 1 year, give me 5 million.
500 Ghana.
500 Ghana. So it's not important that...
You think it's an insult?
Insult. Even if you take my Congo, go to Katamoto to sit one place, before I go house, if you don't get Kora, I can get 3,000, 4,000. Why 1 year they play my song in Europe everywhere? Here you give me 500. So it's not possible that I will take my phone, call you. Where's the
royalties?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't think so.
And that's all the entertainment story here on Hot Edition. My name is Akofa Alfred.
Get ready for your grammar.
Oh, well, I don't want to say much about that.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think
can only wish for all the best anyway. But you're on at 8 o'clock, is it not?
I am on.
Great stuff. Yeah, that's Akofa with entertainment news. We're getting some news coming through right now. There's a fire outbreak at the new Kejetia Market in Kumasi, the Inferno gutted parts of the Ashanti Regional Facility. In fact, the fire outbreak happened not too long ago, so a few minutes ago. Officials from the Ghana National Fire Service are the scene doing their best to douse the fire. Ibrahim Abubakar is Ashanti Regional correspondent. He's at the fire scene right now, joining us on the telephone. Ibrahim, what's happening there where you are?
Well, Alfred, I would say it's a difficult situation for the fire services now. We've been here for the past 1 hour, but they are finding it very difficult to be able to bring the situation under control. As I speak to you, just some 3 minutes ago, they've been able to manage the situation because even the smoke and everything appears to have calmed down. But as I speak to you now, the smoke keeps blowing. The fire has also started spreading from one shop to the other. A lot of people are here, plus most of them have lost huge sums of money, all their investments. Others are here also praying very hard that the fire does not spread to their shops. I have been able to count not less than 7 to 8 fire tenders here that keep coming and going, all trying to douse the flames, but it appears they've not been able to bring the situation under control now. For the first time, we are also seeing 2 cranes being deployed here to fight the fire. We all know the history of Kejetia Market back there before this new market was established. It was kind of a rich. Every year we were recording similar fire outbreaks, but after the construction of this market, we were told that situation is over. They wouldn't be experiencing this kind of intensity when it comes to fire again because hydrants are in place, everything is intact. But today, it appears what we've been told is not rather the case because some of the hydrants, or I would say most of the hydrants, are not even working. This would have helped the fire service personnel to be able to fight it. But as we speak, anytime their water is finished, they have to move the vehicle to the nearest place to go and refill and come back. So it's been a situation that market women or traders here have complained for some time now, but managers have not attended or given the needed attention to it because apparently we've never experienced or witnessed this kind of fire.
Ibrahim, thank you so much for this update. Ibrahim Abubakar is at the fire scene. The Kumasi Kejetia Market and some parts of the market have been affected by this fire outbreak, which happened just about a few minutes ago. The Ghana National Fire Service officials are there. They're struggling to douse the fire because of the absence of fire hydrants there. Those that have been cited as well do not have enough water flowing through them. Very similar script, is it not? But that will be updating you on this situation in our hourly bulletins here on 3FM 92.7. But the National Union of Ghana Students, NUGS, is mobilizing some students to picket at Parliament tomorrow, Thursday, March 16, to protest the capping of the GET Fund, which they say denies the fund access to GET Fund that's levy. The action, according to NUGS, aims to get in Parliament to uncap the fund and make money available for education purposes. They also intend to petition the legislature to prevent the finance minister from implementing the GET Fund formula for this year, which will see only 39% of the GET Fund levy allocated to the fund and the remaining 61 diverted into